Hi there, how are you? Excited? Well, that's a relief. Well, I guess you know why you're here, so I'll keep it fairly brief. My name's Pete Perfides. I'm here to introduce a band who have legions of fans all over the world, and I really do mean all over the world. They pack out stadiums on every continent. They've been a little bit quiet lately. They've kept a low profile ever since those two triumphant O2 shows, 4 years ago now, I think. They've enjoyed a staggering 12 million sales ever since the release of Hopes and Fears, their debut album, which was 8 years ago. How time flies. And they have a wonderful new album. I thought I'd bring this out because it's very nice. Do you remember these? These are what we had before CDs. It's very nice. I know, no expense spared, eh? And I've been very privileged to listen to this record several times and really got to know it. And it really is a band who, at the peak of their powers, understanding just how uniquely gifted they are at doing what they do. Songs that, when you get to know them, when you go and see them, when they go on tour later on this year, you'll enjoy seeing them in a crowd so much. It seems like they were purpose-built for this. Without any further ado, they're just over there. Shall we say hello to Keane? Tom, Tim, Richard, and Jesse. How's it going, guys?
Not too bad. I've had a little stomach issue for the last few days. But I won't go on about that. Nobody needs to hear about that, do they?
It's touch and go then, isn't it?
Let's hope not, for the sake of this.
No pressure. There are people from all over the world tuning in to watch you right now. You got anything to say to them?
I think I'd be more worried about the people in the front row in case something comes back up from dinner.
Moving swiftly on. Just in case anyone's wandered into the room accidentally and haven't got a clue who you are. Jesse, how are you?
All right.
Is this your first high-profile engagement as a proper member of Keane?
I thought you meant engagement in a marital sense, because I was engaged to Paris Hilton for a couple of years. And then we broke up, but it's another story.
Do you want to discuss this in private? Well, Jesse's a new boy. How do you feel you're fitting in so far?
Well. Why have I got the mic?
We should be the ones who are answering that question. Tim, how's Jesse fitting in?
Brilliantly. We love him, in spite of his faults. No, he's fantastic. He's a much better musician than the rest of us, unfortunately.
Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yes. Right. Oh God, it's all going pear-shaped. So, Jesse notwithstanding, let's remind ourselves, how long is it since you have been together in a band now?
Too long. No, how long is it? I mean, it's impossible to describe because I don't remember first meeting Tim or Richard. In fact, I probably don't even remember first meeting Jesse. But it would have been when I was about 0 and Tim was about 3. So not long after that, the music began because I was wailing. And Tim was obsessed with writing songs from about the age of 3, I should imagine.
Can you remember the first song that Tim wrote?
I can, I wrote a song called Refrain from Breaking My Heart Again. These tears that fall like rain.
Who is it about?
These tears that fall like rain are here. Don't shatter my hopes again. Yeah.
It was a template. The template was there already.
Tim, who broke your heart?
I was just,
You're not friends.
copying Buddy Holly or something. It's just sort of...
I like Tom's first song. How did that one go?
Oh yes, it went, I am so cool, I am so cool, I am so cool, I am so cool. And then my mum in the background said, shut up, Tom.
Nothing much has changed, really, has it?
No, it's just these guys instead of my mum now.
There's usually a song, it's sort of in the life of every band, that sort of raises the stakes a bit, isn't there? And sort of makes you realise that maybe it's not such an insane idea that you might be able to do this for a living. Can you remember what that song was for you?
I'd say probably This Is the Last Time, which the first time we played it was the last show we ever did with our guitarist, Dominic. So I remember looking at him, we were playing a song called This Is the Last Time, knowing that it was the last time he was going to play with us at the Bull and Gate, I think, in Kentish Town. It was really weird. Yeah, just over there, apparently. Because that song really was a step forward, I think, in songwriting.
And when would this have been? Just remind us.
2000, maybe? 2001, maybe?
I think early 2001. And Bed Shaped was around a similar time, wasn't it? Yeah.
There was I don't think a lot of people know this, but there was a certain amount of hardship, wasn't there? This sort of... You lived together for a while, didn't you? And you sort of... Wasn't this story about how, Tim, you sort of volunteered to undergo medical experiments in order to finance the band?
Yeah, that's how I ended up like this. It was... I used to... I only did it a couple of times, actually, but it was one of those things where you have to go and... they give you all these pills, and then see, you have to answer all these questions, and they don't react, when you answer the questions. They sort of just go, mm-hmm, and you've no idea if you're talking gibberish or, they've seen some sign that that your brain is permanently damaged by whatever they've just given you. And unfortunately, my mum is a neurologist, so when I told her, she was not happy at all. She went absolutely mental and started telling me all these terrible things that were going to happen to me, over the next few years. So I felt pretty good after that.
You're going to be delusional. You're going to join a band. You're going to think you can rule the world and tour it and be a rock star. All these crazy
Maybe
lies.
It's helped with your songwriting. Maybe it's kind of triggered some kind of...
It was some kind of songwriting medicine.
Yeah. If only there was such a thing.
The side effects were too strong, though.
It sounds like, leading up to this album, it sounds like you've taken some kind of crazy songwriting medicine, because hadn't you written about 100 songs in the lead up to it?
Well, yes. I actually... I've got you to thank for this, Pete, because I told you, and I've been asked in pretty much every interview we've done over the, in the last month or so, whether it's true that I wrote 100 songs, and I thought I'll count them. So actually, when we were on the plane the other day, I counted them, and it was 82. So I'm guilty of slight exaggeration. But that's only the ones I did demos.
You're hardly a slouch, really. 82, that's, I can think you can give yourself some latitude.
Lazy.
Yeah, a lazy liar. Still.
Terrible. And there's a kind of a parallel universe, isn't there, in which somewhere out there in a parallel universe, you are Coldplay's keyboard player, aren't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a moment when Chris did ask about that, but we were sitting in a pub somewhere on Tottenham Court Road or somewhere, and but it's funny how they, I mean, I would have been up for it, to be quite honest. I was ready to ditch these guys.
He's never said that before, and he's done it in front of a lot of witnesses, just in case.
Yeah, but I guess they just changed their mind. But I keep asking him, even now. But he's obsessed with doing it himself.
Well, one day, you see, it's like, like sort of New Kids on the Block and the Backstreet Boys are doing a tour together around the world, and they're calling themselves like New Kids on the Backstreet or something like that. So in years to come, there could be a similar arrangement.
Isn't that just a terrifying thought.
We'll put that on ice for the meantime. So incredibly strong album, and it sounds like you really took your time sort of getting it right. Is that the case?
I don't think it sounds like we took our time. I mean, 4 years is proof that we took far too long. No, I think we wanted to prepare. The thing about us as a band is we seem to be quite reactionary. So what we do with one album, we then want to do the opposite with the next one. And with Perfect Symmetry, we made everything in this kind of world of sort of exuberance and excitement, experimentation. And we then had this record that we were so excited about. And as soon as Spiraling was mastered and ready to go, before the record was even finished, we thought, let's put that out, get that out there. We hadn't even made a video for it. You know, things were kind of a bit undercooked in some respects. So with this album, we thought, instead of taking a year, we'll take 4. And,
Which is fine for you, because you can kind of kick back and relax, because you're not writing the song. So what do you three do while he's sort of slaving away over a hot keyboard?
You sit there and make sure he gets on with it.
yeah.
Prod him.
They send me postcards from like Hawaii and stuff. There's like Richard in a little boat with a garland around his neck playing the ukulele and stuff, and
They just say, sucker.
So, once you finish a song, do you kind of send it to the others to sort of canvass their views as to whether or not it's a banker?
yeah, exactly. Which is quite, it's quite nice with the, being able to just email a demo, and but it does. You don't have that sort of instant reaction thing. So I always have this thing where I send it off. I'll be really excited about a song. I'll send it off to these guys, and then they'll just be. It's like the internet has shut down or something. There'll just be this deathly silence for, the hours, and then the days turn into weeks, and it's like I just can't get hold of them, and then I know that they didn't like it.
And what do you sort of say? So, about my song, what didn't you like about it?
Well, yeah, it's I think after all this time we're quite good at they're very diplomatic and gentle with me, so I know that I'm easily wounded.
Let's be honest, it seldom happens. It's just that we're enjoying listening to it and we can't be bothered to send you an email back saying that we really like it, as a general rule. That tends to be my problem anyway. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself as the lazy bastard in the band.
What did I think in the process of writing any album, there's usually a song or maybe 2 songs that almost signposts what the rest of the album is going to be like, or that kind of sort of tells you, okay, now we're on our way. What were on this particular record? What were those songs?
Well, I felt it was Sovereign Light Cafe, especially. It was actually the first song I wrote, and for this album. It was. I think just having this idea of looking at where we come from and trying to work out where on earth we got to on this sort of journey through life. But and then I have to admit, after that there was a bit of a lull where I couldn't write anything good for ages. But then I found that there were songs like In Your Own Time and Watch How You Go, and actually quite a lot of the songs, Silence by the Night, they all started to have this much more hopeful feeling to them, and a sense of trying to sort of keep going and get through the darkness. And I felt that theme seemed to really just tie the whole thing together and make sense of what we were trying to say.
You sort of sound like you're trying to cheer yourself up on a lot of the songs.
I think that's true. I think a lot of the songs are at a sort of basic level are really just messages to myself.
Fair enough. If it ain't broke,
Buy milk.
we'll look forward to that B-side. There's got to be a B-side called Buy Milk. That'd be fantastic.
Hang on, there was one called Punk It. What's that? What was that about? It was just a sample of someone going, punk it. What was the message in that one, Tim?
that was one of the 82.
Number 78.
It was the last of a 20-song game, wasn't it? The number 13 or something.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Sovereign Light Cafe. Can you just explain to people who don't know what the significance of this place is?
Well, we all grew up down in East Sussex and down on the seafront in a little town called Bexhill, which is a kind of classic British seaside town, very even kind of quieter and more low key than the sort of Margates and Hastings type places. We used to go down there a lot. Richard and I used to go down there on our bikes, and I don't know why we used to think that we would meet girls down in Bexhill, which has I think the oldest average age of any town in the UK. But you got
if that's what you go in for, mate, that's fine.
But anyway, and there's this lovely little sort of, I don't know, greasy spoon, I suppose. Little seaside cafe. We used to go there and sit and watch the rain pouring down on these sort of grey English afternoons, and sort of dream about, being in a band, I suppose.
And that's not it there, is it? What's this little thing here?
That's one of the posh new shelters. I don't really know who's supposed to shelter there, but it's They've started making it a bit more fancy on Bexhill seafront.
Okay. So when you what was there a meeting about Jesse joining the band? What happened?
I can't remember whose idea it was, but one of us just mentioned it, and everyone else sort of said, "Oh yeah, I was thinking that as well," which might have been to cover the awkwardness of the situation. But I think Jesse had been with us since before we started Perfect Symmetry, so he was already part of the band. It was just this way we don't have to do quite so many interviews because he does some of them, and he's in the photos as well.
He drives as well, which is handy.
And rides a motorbike. He's very talented.
Yeah.
We had an interview the other day, and the interviewer said, "Oh, where's Tom?" And I said, "Oh, you got me and Tim." And he went, "Oh, so I've pulled the short." So we were like, "Yeah."
That's a harsh reality lesson there.
Yeah.
Oh well. Let's talk about a couple of highlights on the record. What I love about this album is that there's a kind of even combination of really sort of classic Keane tunes and sort of more adventurous stuff, and it all works. It just hangs together very well. Let's talk about a couple of the more adventurous songs. I was going to start with maybe Black Rain.
Yeah, that was one that I wrote. Jesse and I were doing this thing where we, to try and sort of get the process going of writing songs, we were doing this thing where you try and write non-stop for 12 hours, and you have to try and write 20 songs, and get the brain going very quickly. And it was it's really good fun actually. But one of the songs that came out of it was Black Rain, and I think I'd just been watching Waltz with Bashir, which is a great animated film by Ari Folman, and it's I guess it's essentially a war film, and it was just it's a kind of impressionistic song trying to. There's at least one song about war on all of our albums. Obviously, a subject which a lot of people feel very passionately about, rightly so. And I like this one because I feel like it's got a lot of sympathy, and it's really written. It's kind of about the human, a human point of view, and I like the kind of impressionistic nature of it. It's almost sort of looking at the beautiful things in that sort of horrible situation.
I think it's absolutely one of your best songs, and in a completely different way, I would say. Disconnected, it's just one of those songs that you just feel like you've just known forever, and yet, you hear it for the first time, and it just has that instant familiarity. Can you just talk me through a little bit about that as well, please?
Well, the thing I remember the most about that is that I just had this little sketch of it, and I wasn't sure if it was any good at all, and I was working on some other songs, and Jesse came into the room, and he was like, pretty much. Like, I don't like any of the others, but I love that thing. What that you're working on, and then we.
Is that right?
That doesn't sound like me at all.
But anyway, so he sort of made me feel like it was worth pursuing. But it turned into, it's very Beatlesy, and I like the fact that it's basically a really sad breakup song or whatever, a relationship song. But it's an incredibly kind of jaunty melody, and I like that. That's a sort of very 60s-ish thing.
And you got a producer, Dan Gretsch, who's on a bit of a roll at the moment. By what process did you alight upon him?
We've never really worked properly with a producer before. I mean, we co-produced the first 2 records with a guy called Andy Green. But I think we've always been quite precious about trying to do everything ourselves, partly because I think we spent years and years and years doing everything ourselves, and not wanting to let anyone into the kind of circle. But with this album, again, I think is a reaction to Perfect Symmetry, which had a lot of, some might say, extraneous moments on it. I mean, it was full of stuff. And sometimes we felt maybe at the expense of the core of the song. Because we played a couple of shows we played a show in LA, a little tiny theatre called the Largo Theatre, and we stripped everything down to the bare bones and just played the songs off Perfect Symmetry with hardly any instruments at all, like we're going to do today. And we came away thinking, they sound as good as they do on the record, if not better. And so it kind of gave us this sort of thought process about trying to just simplify everything. And I think with Dan, obviously he's the first thing that he did sort of as a major piece of work was to engineer with Radiohead. So you kind of know that someone who's engineered Radiohead is going to be someone who knows how to capture the sound of a band. And because we were working with these songs as a band and the 4 of us in a room, and working in that way as opposed to kind of layering it up, we felt that was the kind of person that we needed. But also, he's a very versatile guy. So he's worked with the Vaccines at one end and then Lana Del Rey at the other. So we knew.
You're right in the middle, aren't you?
Yeah. What a thought that would be. Sorry. But he was great. I mean, he became like a 5th member of the band. He's strange because it almost seems like he's, nothing's getting done except it's getting done at a very fast pace.
Which is great, isn't
knew
it?
how to get us moving, which
He's
was
very good at tricking you, isn't he? You'll sort of go, I've got this amazing sound where this goes through this pedal and then it goes through that and then this mic's here and stuff, and he goes, amazing, yeah. What about trying that plugged into that, which is completely different?
Right, okay.
And you kind of go, yeah, that sounds good, and before you know it, he's just completely changed everything you're doing and made it 1,000,000 times better.
Oh, right, okay.
Quite depressing, really.
Before we got some questions that people have sent in. Just before, I saw some amazing footage of you, Tom, with Queen. No, steady, with Queen. Guesting, doing, what was it? It's a Hard Life.
It's a Hard Life, yeah.
And I knew you were a good singer, but bloody, that takes confidence to do that.
Well, it was pretty much one of the biggest honours I've ever had, if not the biggest in my life.
You didn't even break into a sweat.
I can't honestly remember that much about it. The thing was that it was for the Prince's Trust. It was at the Royal Albert Hall, and Brian and Roger, as I fondly know them.
I think everyone fondly knows them as Brian and Roger.
They probably do, actually.
those are their names.
May and Taylor called me up, and they said, choose a Queen song that you would like to do with us, and it would be a pleasure to have you come and sing for us. And having kind of grown up trying to emulate Freddie Mercury, in front of the mirror and do all the moves and sing like him and be, you know, just a carbon copy of him, really, without the moustache. I was just like totally blown away. So I chose It's a Hard Life, and it was very, very sweet and touching because I got to the side of stage just before I went on, and bear in mind I was absolutely terrified because, you know, this is living a dream. Brian then said that nobody had sung this song since Freddie had died. Freddie was the last person to have sung it live pressure, because no one else could hit the notes. So I kind of knew from that point onwards that when I went on stage I was going to have to hit the notes, otherwise I was going to look pretty stupid.
I think you've got a permanent job there if you want to. When Tim finally does join Coldplay, then I think the gig's yours.
Yeah?
Well, you know, you can. Those two out of New Order formed quite a good band for about a year. You know,
Those two out of New Order.
well, the band was called the.
Stop it, Pete. You're embarrassing.
Should we move on?
Should we go?
But some people have sent in questions. Let's conveniently move on to those. They're probably better. Okay, I'm just going to randomly choose a few. I have one question from Thomas Kopp in Holland, who says, who decides which songs are going to be the singles? That's quite a responsibility, and it's very difficult, as almost every song on the new record would fit perfectly on the radio. That's nice.
Absolutely correct. Thomas Kopp, yeah, right. That's not his name, is it? Tim Rice-Oxley, he wrote that one. Well, we did. That was our ethos with this record, was to try and have 10 singles on the record, so that we made it a difficult choice. And everything had to be like 3.5, 4 minutes long. So it's been a really, really difficult decision. I think we felt Silence by the Night was a great first single because it does reflect the mood of the album, like Tim was saying about that kind of thing about trying to find kind of hope in the midst of despair. I think is definitely a theme that runs through that song, and it's a very uplifting, very singly song. So eventually we alighted on that one, although I think it was mainly down to Richard elbowing the rest of us, because I think there was talk of it being disconnected. So
I think it probably will be at some point, won't it, surely?
Sounds like your choice.
It's definitely up there, yeah, without a doubt. I've got another question here from, I think, Dra House, D-R-A anyway, sorry for Dre House maybe, which is quite cool. Are you planning to make another documentary DVD like Strangers now that Jesse's in the band?
And not very interesting.
Neither were Strangers, though, so don't worry.
I didn't watch it.
It's quite warts and all, wasn't it, Strangers?
Sometimes Keane fans ask me after shows, they're like, oh, what's your favourite Keane song? My favourite's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I've never heard of it. Sorry.
You're really soaring through this, aren't you?
I'm not a fan.
I would examine the paperwork on his...
I think we might be having another meeting shortly after this.
Yeah, we'll all be sitting around and then we'll all go, yeah, I was thinking that as well. We should...
Sarah Jenkins asks, what would you change about the world if you were king for a day?
If we were keen for a day or king for a day?
King.
Well, I always think that it's very sad that the peace movement died on its arse. I mean, whatever happened to that?
The peace movement?
Yes.
It's probably out there somewhere. It just needs...
It's a man in a tent next to the Houses of Parliament. That's what it is. That's all that's left of it. It's a woman, is it? Yeah. Oh, God. You're always one step ahead of us, aren't you? It's us men, isn't it? We go around blowing the world up. We can't help it.
Okay, is that... Anyone...
Anyone else? World peace? Anything else?
No, sorry. I was going to say that's the same thing. No.
No? Reform Aha, maybe?
They only just split up.
Okay. That's the last time I suggest anything. No, well, cool. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Well, it's between world peace and reforming our I mean,
Maybe if one happened, the other would happen. Anyway, Jessica Natalie Mahecha, I think. I've made a complete pig's ear of that. If you could be any mythological creature for a day, which would you choose and why?
It's got to be. Centaur? The centaur is pretty weird, isn't it?
I think Jesse looks a bit like a little centaur sometimes. It's like, what's Mr. Tumnus in the Narnia books? Isn't he?
He's a fawn, dickhead.
Do we know the difference?
Centaur's the
between a
one with
fawn and
a
centaur?
horse's body, isn't he?
So what's a fawn?
You'd be a little unicorn, wouldn't you? You'd like that.
I'd be a beautiful, graceful unicorn.
Be a little mermaid or something. Little hairy mermaid. Next.
Mermaids aren't mythological anyway, are they?
Well, they're not real.
Oh, they're not. Okay, sorry. Unicorns are they?
Yeah, that's another thing entirely.
But you know what? I didn't realise until about the age of 12 that unicorns weren't real. Just admitted that to the world.
You can make one.
I'm very upset.
You can make one if you stick a horn to a horse's head.
I'm going to find a white shy horse pony and just...
You can make it real, Tom.
Yes, okay.
This is an interesting question. It's from Twitter, from @NotTheMonaLisa. How would you react to being turned into a cat? Would you write songs about your relationships with other cats?
I've got 2 cats. In fact, there's quite a lot of cats in the band. Not in the band.
Cool cats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Creepy cats.
But one of my cats she always finds like a lovely patch of hot earth and just lies there stretching out in the sun. I always just think it just looks so nice.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do that, but
You could do that. It's not difficult to arrange.
He's got to write all the songs. He hasn't got time. While you're on holiday...
It's going to have to be 81 songs next time, and then a bit of time to lie on a piece of hot ground, stretch out.
meantime, yeah.
You missed that. Jesse just said some meow time.
That's fantastic. Okay. Subtle, thank you.
Wrap
How come
up
you're gonna
with a few questions from the floor. Brackets 3.
3 questions.
We can maybe have 4 quick ones. Let's
Okay.
we waste no time. Okay, does anyone have any questions for these people?
Do I need to give this microphone back? I do, Simon.
Okay.
Hold
Okay.
on, you've got to wait for the microphone.
Okay.
The microphone will find you.
Oh, okay.
What's your favourite Keane song of all the time? One you think, wow, that's amazing.
Well, we started opening the show with My Shadow recently, and it's a bit of a... I mean, it's not the best-known Keane song, because it was kind of tacked on the end of the Night Train EP, and probably should have taken pride of place somewhere more important, I think, than that, because for me it's, I think, one of the most beautiful songs that Tim's written, and I just love the way that it builds and builds and builds into this enormous crescendo. And it has my favourite lyric, that's when you hitch your star to mine, which I think is one of my favourite lyrics. This old boy. Anyone else got a favourite Keane song? Jesse doesn't, obviously.
I like Clocks and Fixie.
It's done. He's gone.
Is that it? Should we move on?
I like
Go on,
Perfect
Richard.
Symmetry. That's my favourite.
I was just going to ask if anyone was not very good at the bass, because we need...
Okay. Anyone who any hands? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I promised you. Come on. Someone coming your way.
It's for the internet.
Right, I want to know, inside legs please, no, seriously. You often talk about writing classic album, your classic album, a classic album for us. Strangeland could be that. Could you sum it up for me in 5 words? Don't ask Tim, because it might take a little bit of time, so... Maybe Tom and Jesse.
I got it. It's a fucking classic album.
Oh, no.
I'm not allowed.
Okay.
Anyone else? Very, 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 very good. Done.
Okay, moving swiftly. Have we got anyone at the back? I can't see. Any hands? Oh, what a shy audience. Oh, there's one. Okay. There you go.
As a music teacher, I'm always telling the kids it's really, really hard to get into the music industry. What kind of advice would you give to young people trying to do what you've done?
I think we'd be the worst people in the world to ask for advice. We learned from making a hell of a lot of mistakes. And because of where we grew up, there was no music scene at all. And the schools we went to, there were no other bands. We all moved to London thinking we'd be hanging out with loads of bands, and we didn't. So we kind of didn't really know what we were doing, but we had to learn everything by making mistakes, and often that's the very best way. And I think you just have to work really, really hard at what you do and find your own unique, peculiar thing that makes you different from everyone else.
Okay, are we out of time? Can anyone? Should we move on to the next part of the evening? Do you want to play a couple of songs, maybe?
Shall we play some songs? Anyone up for that? Hey! All right. Thank you, Pete.
My pleasure.
Can you say thank you to Pete, please?
Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Keane.